Hello and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. Ooh, the light's rather intense today. I'm Brigid Burke, and this is I got up a bit late this morning, so I'm a little bit flailing around a bit. In fact, I still have the window open. I might have to get up and shut it at some point because it's just too. If it gets too noisy outside, mainly you can just hear the birds, which I guess is kind of a nice little ASMR type of a thing, right? Where we can have for that. So today's kind of an interesting day. It's Monday morning for a lot of people. Well, it is Monday morning, right? But it's very much it's a day when a lot of people, everybody's kind of going back to the office and so forth. And typically what I do is I keep my schedule open for Saturday and Sunday, and I am actually usually don't work. Well, I have other things I'm doing, but usually I'm not working Monday and Tuesday in terms of clients. And June, July, August are very difficult months. A lot of times people are away on their holidays or vacations. And it's not, so it tends to be, even like last year at this time, even when I was working in a store, it tends to be a very quiet month for things. And so that's led me, it's kind of put me in a position I've not been in my life before. And because normally, from the time I was 15, 16, I was always working, and I was always working. I was usually doing library work because my mother had worked in one library, and that was my first job. I was working in a county library. I was doing periodicals, serials, stuff like that. And I worked there until then I got my library degree. I always had a job there. I'd gone to England. They gave me another job when I came back. And then once I got my MLS, then I got my first job with the network, and then I kind of moved into doing more network kind of stuff and back and forth. In any case, for the most of my life when I've been looking for work, it's always been a case of if I've changed jobs, it's because somebody's called me up and said, hey, you want to work for me? I've always had that kind of thing. And of course, obviously, I've gone and had a lot of education and so forth as well. So it's kind of weird to be in a position right now where I'm like, okay, I just don't know where the next money is going to come from. I do have a couple little side things, but that's just, it's not a position that my body deals with very well. Even if in my mind, or even if my guides are telling me, just chill, you're going to see where this comes from. This is a very different experience for me as a Taurus. So it's been, it's a bit of I'm spending a lot of time trying to work out what I'm going to be doing about it. Because one of the things I'm also not good at with people is trying to tell people like, some people are very good at like the hard sell or the cold call, and I can't do any of that. I just don't. To me, if it's something you need, then you will come to me for it. I don't like to solicit in that kind of a way. That said, I do like to make things available. And I do like to make things affordable, although even what I'm doing may not be affordable. Some people may say, well, that's still too much for what I'm doing, which I can also understand. So it's a case of not selling yourself short, but it's also a case of, wanting to make sure that people, get what, it's something that's accessible to people, but at the same time, it's not, I have to pay for my time and so on and so forth. I don't know. It's been an interesting journey with that so far this week. So yesterday, this kind of leads me into the topic that I was going to talk about today a little bit, which has to do with Azrael. And as you know, if you look at my website, Transition Life Coaching, you know that I work with Archangel Azrael. And this is something, the angelic work that I've done is something, it's fairly new. As I've said, I already did a video about this on my website that you can check out. If you go to my blog page, I do have my first posting is actually my video about working with Azrael. But I want to talk a little bit about that today because I have had people contact me. I have had questions about that and about how that works and so on and so forth. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today in addition to doing our readings for today. So yesterday's encounter with Azrael was more like, it's interesting because there's times when I feel very aware of his presence, and then there's times when it's not, maybe I don't notice it so much. But basically if I say something about it in my mind, then all of a sudden it's like I can feel it. I can feel an opening up in the top of my head, like it's like a crown opening. And sometimes I can also feel in body as well. There's just different sensations that I have in my back. There's different sensations I have in my head that when I know that Azrael is wanting to say something or wanting to do something. And in terms of how I work with people on when I do transition services, as it's mentioned on my website, typically if we're dealing with people who are in a particular crisis, who may be facing certain things, sometimes if it's I don't. Sometimes if it has to do with certain health issues that people are facing, or if he has to do with, or just somebody's just going through a major life change. Like right now, as I was describing, I feel like I'm also going through a major life change right now, and it's interesting, having to negotiate that. It's like you really don't have any choice but to kind of push through it, and you're kind of working. There's what you're being told, and then there's kind of like what manifests, right? And when you're dealing with channeling and with that realm, sometimes I think the thing that frustrates people a lot is that there's a gap between what you're being told and like what's actually manifested in front of you. So if you're told, oh yeah, this problem you have is going to be solved, and they're not terribly reliable on timing either. So if you say, will this be resolved in 3 days? They might be like, yeah, but what's 3 days to that realm, just as a way of example. So I don't know. So anyway, it's just with working with him though, like yesterday I almost got it was almost like the, because again, just being a Taurian, and also for me, I think there's a lot of ancestral stuff around this kind of an issue. Even though I've been reassured things are going to be fine, you'll be protected. There's going to be a way through. This is just kind of a rough patch, and there is going to be success for what you're doing, or I shouldn't say that it's not successful, because it is, but there's more of that particular result will be coming. And there may be I keep seeing more Uranian energy, which I don't know whether I should be scared of or not, but that's kind of like the unexpected bursting in on things. So I've been seeing that as well. Like, yeah, there could be something unexpected coming in that's going to help solve it. So understanding that, and then having to have the trust, which, that's very hard. I felt like he sort of came in yesterday and it was like, all right, you stop everything. And so I ended up having kind of a long, well, I'm not really, maybe an hour and a half session of just channeling Azrael, because he basically was trying to take the worry thing down a notch. That's something that's very ancestral for me, and definitely, like, my mother is definitely that kind of a person. I'm not going to blame it on my mother. It's just, but there's this pattern that we have around security, and it's not a I wouldn't say it's an irrational one, okay? Because obviously we need to worry. We're adults, right? We got to worry about taking care of our stuff and paying our bills and doing all this stuff. I mean, it's not, it's very sensible stuff. But trying to trust in those cases when we feel like we need to always be intervening is it's a challenge, I'll tell you. So basically, I had that was one case where I had an intervention from Azrael, where he was trying to say to me, look, there's stuff going on right now. The message that came through was basically, there's stuff going on right now. There's things you're not seeing. There's things maybe we can't tell you about, but there are going to be changes. And you just need to be patient with those changes. Everything's going to come up when it needs to. So you just need to stay focused on your work and what you're doing. Because angels are very, what I've noticed about them, we always tend to think of angels as being very kind of light and fluffy. When we do angelic work, we have, there's definitely, okay, like if you look at what a lot of places where they talk about doing angel works or angel readings or things like that, a lot of places, I think I've noted that when I was in Ireland, that you would frequently see people who would do angel readings rather than tarot or something like that, because tarot somehow has a reputation as being, evil and wicked and a tool of the devil, which it's not. But I mean, people have that, it has that reputation for some people. They don't. I remember I had somebody on the channel who was just upset because I was using, the Ta card showed up in Cartouche, and they said, oh, that has Masonic symbolism, and the Masons, and I'm like, no, well, first of all, the Masons are not devil worshippers, but second of all, esoteric symbolism, esoteric does not equal satanic, okay? that's something you have to, that's an association that's hard to break with some people, because, and then you have to, but the angelic realm is something where everybody's kind of felt like, oh, well they're angels, so they work with God, so that's safe and that's good, and and the thing is, it's not that it can't be safe to work with angels. It's not that angels are going to harm you, but their method of dealing with your problem may not be quite what you expect. They're not. They don't tend to stand around and make conversation. Okay, when you need something, they show up. They're like, oh, okay, what do you need? Okay, and then they just do it. It's not. They don't. I mean, you can ask them questions and so forth. You can communicate with them. Angels do have their own language, and it's typically the language that certainly the revealed language was Enochian, and that is something that, again, that is used a lot by people in more esoteric settings. There's all rituals around using the angelic alphabet as part of workings where one is either seeing or trying to know certain things. One of the more common things I think I've talked about is calling what they calling the aethers. Okay, and when you're working with angelic forces, basically what you're doing is you're kind of laying out this thing. They'll call it the holy table, and the holy, and then you have different things. You have this particular sigil that you use to support the table that you're on, and then you have this, and then you have like a scrying mirror, and then you kind of go through and you go into this trance, and then you call up all these angelic beings, and then you do what they call the call of the aether, and you call it in the Enochian language, and then you look into the mirror and you scry. Now, I have done workings like that before, but it's probably been, I'd have to go back to my diaries, it's probably been more than 10 years since I've done an Enochian working. But I have had experience with doing them, and really it's just a matter of seeing what you are going to be shown by these kinds of beings. And it's not always the kinds of things that, I guess it depends on how open you are to receiving certain things, because everybody's vision with regard to that is different. Everybody has a vision, it has an ability to do that, but it's not always the same for everybody. So in any case, I have there definitely is that language, and I know definitely there seems to be so when I actually call Azrael for a formal session, I actually use Enochian to call him in. And like I said, the deck I've been working on very slowly, but this Oracle deck I've been working on is definitely one that is Enochian in nature. So I mean, angels obviously can speak to us in our language, but they like it when we speak to it in theirs. So, and like I said, you'd say that I have a fluency or proficiency in Enochian. I don't, but there's a way in which that communication can happen. Because sometimes I have received certain communications that don't feel like real words to me, but then when I look, they're Enochian words. So so sometimes they do like to communicate in that kind of a way. And yesterday, I feel like the sessions that I have, they can either come through as kind of channeled words. Sometimes they come through as channeled images, or just very, very strong feelings, like certain parts of the body. When you're doing any kind of work like that, you can receive information just like you have 5 what we'll call ordinary senses, the ones that we tend to think of, our sight, our hearing, our smell, our taste, and then touch. Similarly, you have those what they call, clair sentient. Oh, good morning, Melissa. I'm just talking a little bit about channeling and the way in which people receive information, and I've been talking about the work that I've been doing with the archangels, particularly with Azrael, because I had a bit of a thing yesterday. I have been in this kind of a bit of trying to sort out my financial conundrum, which is a very new thing for me. I've never had that. Everything has always kind of flowed. This is historic. This is, like I said, traditionally, this is a time of year when people are on vacation and stuff. So in any case, the point being is that Azrael kind of gave me the knock on the head yesterday, like, hey, sit down, we're going to talk about this. And so I was talking to people, being that this is a service that I offer, is about, in my transition services, about how I can, how I deal with angelic influences, you know, because I talk about how that is one of the things that I might do for people who are going through major transitions, is sometimes I channel Azrael, because as the angel connected to death, he is actually somebody who's kind of showing you, okay, this is the doorway you're walking through, this is the new thing. And it doesn't have to be about physical death, it can be about other kinds of big transitions as well. But it was almost like we had to sit down yesterday, and he was and I did feel a lot calmer afterwards, once I had that come through. Once it was able to, what was happening with my mind was also able to be absorbed by the body. It definitely was kind of a reset button for me. I was able to say, like, okay, because basically he's coming through and saying, look, you know, we've got this. Like, don't. There will be some things coming in. You just have to trust that they're coming in, and even the things that you're doing are going to require some patience. You know, things don't just happen overnight, and if they need to happen overnight, angels have to have a way of doing that. Like I was been talking about what it's like to work with angels, because we tend to think, I think where I was going with this was, people tend to think that working with angels, that, you know, they're nice and light and airy and protective, and you know, we kind of see these Victorian images of them with, you know, they look like little cherubic babies with wings and stuff. And I said, they're actually really, really powerful beings, and thus the results of working with them are very, very powerful. Rahani healing, which I'm going to be taking my class on this coming Saturday, I'm going to get attuned to Rahani level 1, and Rahani is very, I mean, that is one of the most potent healings I've ever done. I mean, I'm a Reiki master, but this is like next level. People have referred to it as Reiki on steroids, or next level Reiki, and it does, because it comes in, and anything that's kind of out of sorts, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to come in and we're going to rearrange all of this stuff. And it's just like, you know, they just come in and do their work. They're like surgeons. They just come in, they do their work, and then they're out. I mean, that's how angels tend to work. And even when talking to esoteric practitioners, that's who have worked with them far more than I had, certainly in the past. They're like, yeah, that's kind of how they work. They come in, you need something, they say, okay, what is it that you need? Okay, you need that? Okay, here it is. And then they're gone. They don't hang around, they don't make small talk, they don't, you know, it's just not how the angelic forces tend to work. And because of the level of potency, a lot of times it's not so much that they're not trying to hurt, obviously I'm trying to hurt anybody, but at the same time, their level of potent, when you ask them to go easy on something, they say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go easy. And easy for them is like, you feel like you're being bludgeoned over the head sometimes when it's you. So, you know, they're very, very powerful energies to work with. And yeah, when you're in a situation when you need protection and things like that, they can be very, very potent allies. But they also, you know, especially a lot of people work with Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael is, again, a very, very potent kind of a force. He's basically Mars energy in an angelic form, and Uriel is also, who they're both definitely connected with this. Okay, let's tear this down and rebuild it kind of energy. They're definitely very strongly connected with that. So when you're working with, you know, with energies like that, it can be a very, very intense experience. But channeling Azrael for me is like, that's the way that it comes in. I feel like I can feel it in the crown of my head. I can feel like that awakening that goes on there, and I also feel, and I often feel it in the body too. I feel it. I'll feel it in through here. I feel it in through my back. It's like I almost feel like I'm carrying somebody. You know, it's weird. It's hard to explain. But I've often talked about when you are dealing with certain kinds of spirits or certain kinds of whatever type they are. There's a concept in voodoo of the cheval, of being the horse, and you being, you know, that you are the vehicle and they are the rider. You know, that this spirit is almost like riding you when it's coming through you. Some people with channel, they conceive of it a little bit differently, but that's the way I sort of experience it. And I'm not suggesting that this is like a voodoo thing, but it's just it's that idea of being the vehicle, and so it's not so much that they are. I mean, it could be a feeling like they're entering your body, but it also is more of a feeling of like they're kind of, you know, behind you and using you as like the mouthpiece. You know, like they're holding you in front of them. It's kind of a weird kind of a feeling. It's hard to explain to people. But Azrael tends to come through when there's people who are in certain types of crisis or transitions, and sometimes people who just I don't know, where when you've gotten to a point where you feel like you are where there's just a lot of uncertainty about the path forward. I find that Azrael, or somebody is literally on the edge of a transition that's about to happen, but is stuck or is not happening for some reason, then I find that Azrael wants to come through and say, okay, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what you're being called to do right now. And sometimes it's a very direct response. Like I said, it can be in words. Other times it comes through in other in images, and sometimes it comes through in the Enochian language. Which I talked a little bit about before, which is the language of the angels, and I've been steadily been encouraged to try to learn as much about that language as I can, and I have used it for things in the past before, but it is a definite language, and they do. I have had communications come through that I've written, either automatic communications or things, and I'm like, but then when I go and look, they're actually Enochian words. So. And they are sensible. It's not a bunch of gibberish. I mean, it is sensible. So very interesting how that works. So connecting with angels, I guess the moral of the story, if there is one, is that they're very highly potent energies. And so when I'm working with a client, I want to make a decision about whether or not a person may come to me and go, I want you to channel Azrael for me. And I'm like, okay, are you ready for this? Is this something that you want to? Is this something is it something, or if you want me, like I said, even when I start offering Rouhani, is it going to be something? Is that the best place for the person to start? Would it be better for the person to start with some Reiki? Would it be better for that person to start with? Because if somebody has been in a very traumatized state, it's kind of like, okay, maybe we need to work you into this a little bit slowly. Let's not go for the big guns first. Let's work this in a little bit. But then again, some people are ready for the big guns. They're like, nope, I've done all that. Let's go in. I'm ready for this. So really, when you're dealing with angelic forces, this is when you're really ready to do the work. When you've been around this cycle enough times, and you're like, okay, I'm tired of this. I need to. I need to fix this. I need to fix this once and for all. That's when working with the angelic forces, I think, is the most beneficial, because that's the way they are. They're like surgeons. They come in, they take care of whatever they're going to take care of, and they leave. But then, of course, you have to remember there's a healing process that goes on afterwards. If you want to use a metaphor of regular surgery, if you go in and you have something removed, you have some growth or something, and they take it out of your body. And they may sew you up, and you may feel good after surgery because they give you all those drugs and all your endorphins are up and everything. But then the days afterwards, you're going to start to hurt a little bit. Your body is recovering from the shock of being opened up like that. So similarly, you will have. I find that when you work with them, there's like an initial moment of just this joy of feeling like this release. But then it's like the body is still healing from it afterwards. So you do need a little maintenance and a little follow up. Certainly both Rouhani and Reiki are healing modalities that will continue to work even after the practitioner is done. So people have to kind of decide what they need, but people just have to be aware when they're doing that kind of work that it's going to fix the problem, but fixing the problem doesn't necessarily mean we snap our fingers and it's all gone. It's like, okay, yes, we've gone in, we've taken care of the difficult thing, and now you kind of have to let your, because as I've said about the body, there's a lot of things that we think in the mind, and we think, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to feel that way and that way, and our body opposes us. Our body, like I was talking about, my example from this morning was just that, even though I know I've been absolutely assured that, where this June, July, August, because I'm not teaching, are often a tricky month for finances for me. So they're like, okay, don't worry about it. Things are going to come from where they need to come from. You're going to get what you need. Just don't stress about it. You put stuff out there. Now just wait for it to manifest. Like all the stuff that's really, really normal things that people would tell you, very normal common sense things. My body, my root chakra is just kind of like not having it. It's like, no, I'm a Taurus and I want to know right now where all this is coming from. So I'm only, so yeah. you come in and you have to, you get, it's like almost like layers of things kind of have to be peeled away until you get to the root, and then you're able to, it's like digging the weed out by the root, So it's a bit of a process. So it's not, so just to kind of be clear with people on how angelic work goes. And again, it all depends on what you're calling on the angels for. I gave the example when I had the power outage and I had a tree down. I swear to you, that appearance of that guy who just came out of nowhere was, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that was an angelic visitation. I have no idea who that guy is. He was completely not somebody dressed to be picking up tree branches and stuff like that. And literally when he grabbed one end of the limb, and he was not a big guy. It wasn't like, he was some big brawny, because when I had to move that branch finally with my sister and brother-in-law, we got more pieces of it cut off. And then there was like a big, maybe 4 to 5 foot piece that we all lifted together and, put into the forest. He was just like, it was hard for the 3 of us to move. Like, they were out of breath, and they're like, God, that guy must have been a really big guy to move this. And I'm like, no, he was this little guy. And he didn't have big muscles or anything, but just picked it up, and I took one end, and he just moved it, and he just nodded his head, and he walked away. It was like, to me, that's it. That's also, whether he turns out to be just some regular guy who is, whose appearance, is deceptive with regard to his level of strength, I still see that it's still a perfect metaphor at the very least for the way that angels work. It's like they come in, hi, what do you need? Oh, okay, let's do this. All right, good, we've done it, it's done, okay, bye. And then that's how they work. So, so anyway, it's interesting. But I don't know, I'm thinking about in the future, because I've been getting a lot of requests about channeling Azrael, so I may try to do some videos or some sessions where I do the channeling, and then people can see what they think or how they feel about that. So let's get on with our reading for today. It's definitely like the relationships that I have with a lot of these. I have a relationship with them, and then I have a relationship with one of the Irish goddesses called Morrigan. They're not relationships that I've solicited. I haven't sat down and said, I want to, they come and they say, no, I want to work with you. Whatever reason they want to work with me. So I work with them. And it's an adventure learning how to do it. But anybody who's on a spiritual path knows that it's, I was talking to somebody the other night about, we were talking about her and her family and just different things that have happened. And a lot of times people think when you start doing spiritual work that, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to be peaceful, and now my life is just going to be beautiful and it's going to flow. And it's like, no, actually, it's more like, it's more like, no, now we're just going to rip everything down and mess everything up and rearrange it, because now you're going to be challenged to deal with, with your assumptions and with the things that maybe you've taken for granted, or if there's things that make you feel secure, and maybe there are false senses of security. It's like, okay, we're going to give you all kinds of clarity, and you might be going, gosh, I wish I didn't have any of this. So, it can cause a bit of upheaval. And just like anything, there's never a straight line of progress. You could go 2 or 3 steps forward and then 7 steps back. It's like a board game, right? We're talking about life as a game. So these things can happen. And again, we, depending on what our ancestral connection is to these issues, they may affect us in the body more or less, depending. So you kind of have to deal with things. That's why they tell you to stay in the present and deal with things one day at a time, because that is really your point of power. So let's look at our reading for today. Our first card is participation. Okay, this is the 4 of Wands. So participation is like, this is, now traditionally the 4 of Wands is a card about achieving something, achieving a satisfactory end on something, and then there's almost like a gateway, like an 1111 gateway on it, and the idea is that you are going to pass through it to the next phase. So the participation card is about being out in the world. It's not, it's the opposite of the hermit in a lot of ways in terms of what it implies. It's the idea that you are out there with people. Like, don't hide yourself away somewhere. Like, the participation card is about getting out there, being with people, being with like-minded people, finding your tribe, things like that. There's definitely this strong sense of participation. And the inner feeling of which we're unaware is we have this 8 of Wands. So we have the traveling card. And the traveling card is nice because it seems to indicate that there's, again, the wands represent a fiery kind of intensity. So there's an intensity that's going on there, but it's something. It's almost like, things are just starting to move, and I think sometimes when things are starting to move, it's almost like we have to catch up with what's going on. But it indicates, you're going to be moving fast, and that you don't need to plan too much. Like, this is literally a card of things just kind of coming in and not really having to plan. Okay, and so this is this is sort of what's unconscious. This is what in some level that is happening. And then we have another 8. Interestingly, we got 2 8s here. And actually, okay, that one is card, 19. I was going to say, if that was card 17, then I would be like, oh, there's another one. But no, that's card 18 that we have up here. But anyway, we have this 8 of Pentacles, or 8 of rainbows in this one. And this is the ordinariness card. You just see the woman there kind of walking through the field with her basket under her arm. And it's saying that you achieve more by being ordinary rather than trying to be extraordinary. Okay, that there's, and of course, this is just the card of diligently working at stuff. Okay, and again, you've got this double 8 energy here. So there's the feeling 8s are definitely farther along in the process. This suggests to me somebody who's not quite at the end of something, but getting closer. You're getting closer to the end of a process or of a situation. So there's this idea that you are moving towards something. So. So you've got this energy of just saying, just be ordinary, just do your regular thing. Sometimes that's the best thing that you can do, to just kind of dealing with the ordinary day-to-day stuff, rather than say, it's a very strong earth energy rather than say Piscean or Neptunian energy, where we're kind of ungrounded and in our head and in the clouds. I feel like it's almost a reminder to kind of keep the feet on the ground, and to keep the feet on the ground and just focus on your work and what it is that you have to do, and just regular stuff, rather than doing something, sometimes we feel like we have to dazzle people with stuff, and it's kind of saying, well, no, we can just being you is good enough. The advice card is the maturity card. This is the Ace of Pentacles. So Ace of Pentacles is good. This is definitely the idea of moving towards the end of a phase and being in a situation where there's something new that's coming in. Now, Ace of Pentacles is traditionally associated with security and finances and new financial opportunities and things like that. In this deck, the fact that it's coming up as the maturity card, it's just kind of that root seed of just having experience. Like, whatever's new here, it's a new thing that's happening, but in the realm of experience. So it's not, it's almost like taking the experience you have and kind of going back to the way that you are as a child. Okay, that sense of newness and wonder to something, and the sense of new possibility and opportunity that, we see these possibilities that are coming in, and kind of opening yourself up and allowing those possibilities to flow in for us, and about where things are going to go. And our outcome card here is the past lives card, which is the moon. Now, so this is interesting. So what it's saying here is that we have, we are kind of in a realm where new things are happening for us. That there's certain things that are coming to an end, but we still may have ancestral influences or things that could be in conflict with us for some reason. Or as I've noted, past lives, I tend to think of it more as concurrent lives. Like, there's something else going on in some aspect of your soul that's kind of vibrating in such a way that it doesn't, that you are, that it's affecting you here, but it really has nothing to do with what's going on here, per se. Your response may be a response from another lifetime. Okay, so, or from another space that your soul is existing in. Because it's hard to really conceptualize, but there's the idea of you here living the life you're in now, and you're living all of these other lives. Lord knows how many of them, but you're at the same time. If you take the whole notion of linear time out of the equation, so yeah, so there definitely seems to be given that the theme that I kind of had for today was dealing with Azrael, I feel like this is saying. One of the things Azrael is definitely also helping people work towards is the idea of dealing with this concurrent life trauma, because you could be alive in this lifetime, you could have passed away in another one, you could have, and so it's a matter of kind of resolving all of that. I mean, the other thing that they do, another thing that I will do for people, is soul retrieval. Now, shamans have their own way of doing this. I have a way that I've learned that's actually, I've tested it out. It's proven to be quite successful in trying to find fragmented bits. I actually have a meditation that I'm going to produce for people who are my coaching clients to be able to work through that and to be able to go into the meditative space where they can start dealing with fragments and pulling them in. But I have done that successfully a number of times. So it's but again, like everything, there's still a healing process that may go on there. I also wanted to pull. I haven't used this oracle in a while, but it caught my eye this morning. So I'm going to use the Gateway Oracle and see if we can get a card for that today. So let's see. So what do we need? Does our people watching this need to know today? Nope. Okay. Our card is Dwelling in Truth. Okay. And let's see what Denise has to say about that. Oh, and I opened straight to it. It's crazy. Card meaning. The soul loves the truth. Be honest with yourself and listen to your inner guidance. Follow it by speaking your truth. To thine own self be true. You radiate the energy of truth to others so they can find their truth. And the universe wants you to know there's a place inside of you that always knows the truth. Take time to be still to discover that genuine place of knowing within. Often the hardest thing about living your truth is discovering what it is. So it's important to slow down, be quiet, and listen to the whispers of your soul. If there's an area of your life which you're not being authentic or which you're not living the integrity, then that's the time to make change. So, yeah, interesting. It's the idea of what I've kind of been talking about on this live stream quite a bit, is the idea of quieting down enough that you can hear what the inner voice is telling you. Because a lot of times when we are unclear about a path, in other words, it's saying, yeah, you always know what the answer is. And sometimes people, good morning, Sam. We always know what the card we just got was Dwelling in Truth here. The idea is that we always know what the truth is. Now, sometimes the part of the reason that we go to readers and to other people, it's kind of like what I have said about the mirror. When you look in the mirror and you try to see yourself, you don't see yourself. You can only see yourself through a mirror. So you can only see yourself through reflection. You could not, without a mirror or without like a phone or a camera or something, you could not see your own reflection. That's the only way you know what you look like. And then it still might not be the way you look to other people, but that's how the only way you know what you look like. So if you are talking about, so when we know our inner truth, sometimes we go to readers and people and other psychic people, mainly because they're almost acting as a mirror to us. They're reflecting back at us what our truth is. They're able to tell you what that is, because again, everybody's connected, everybody's energy is connected, and that reflection process will tell us what deep inside we already know. But sometimes if we have a hard time hearing it, that's a lot of times why people will do that. But people can also develop it and just, like I said, just by learning to quiet the mind. I've been doing a course in India on, I frequently will do different psychic development courses and things. And one of the things that they are talking about in that course is the idea that you are, that really, they kind of go into the whole thing. They said getting the chakras in line and stilling the mind and practicing mindfulness is the best way in which to tap into those clairvoyant, clairsentient, the clair senses, so to speak. How to tap into those is just by being quiet, because it's something, it's not anything supernatural or weird. It's a sense that we already have that our rational mind tends to override all of the time. So, so I'm going to be ending this live stream soon. For those who arrived late, basically this live stream, I was talking a little bit about some of my own issues that I've been dealing with in the last couple of days, trying to get finances sorted out and stuff like that, and the way that the mind knows what it needs to do, or at least intellectually, I think I know what I need to do, and the body is just kind of like not having it. But the way those things get in line, and I ended up having this little conference with Azrael. And so I was talking a little bit about what it means to channel Azrael and what it means to work with angelic forces, maybe that might be different from what people think that it is. So this whole live stream is going to be available here on Instagram. I am going to be posting it to YouTube later today. I'm doing another live stream on the Katonia podcast at noon Eastern Standard Time, so that's New York City time, today at noon. And so I'll be back then. And I have not quite decided what I'm talking about this morning. I might be talking about some of my new works that have come out, in the fiction realm. So. Okay, all right, awesome. I'm going to catch up when you post it. Oh, great. So, I'm glad that you guys could check in this morning. It's great to see you guys. And thank you, Melissa. I'm always happy to see you guys on here. And I hope you all have a great day and a great week. And of course, I will be back tomorrow morning, and I will see you then. So have a wonderful day.